Hi everybody and welcome back to another Legends of Runeterra video. So we just barely got the newest batch of cards. They just barely released them on mobile Linux. We didn't get a new video on Twitter today, so I assume we're not going to be getting a new champion today. We haven't seen a Azir yet, and this is looking like a mixed batch of cards here from different regions. So yeah, we'll see what they end up doing. We're still a few days away from the actual expansion hitting servers, so I'm not sure what they're going to fill up the rest of the time with, since we did get a lot of champions already revealed. It'll be interesting to see like if there's a lot of cards from different regions going to be introduced, or if they're just about to be done with the spoilers. I'm not really sure. So let's go ahead and look at all of these cards. There's supposedly 17 of them. However, Riot has been notorious for releasing, I guess, like champion spells and abilities as their own cards, which is really annoying. But yeah, let's go ahead and look at all of these. So we've got yeah, right here at the first, a couple of cards from Targon. All right, I'm actually just going to come down here to the bigger cards here in card art. So 8 cost burst speed spell from Targon, Destiny's Call. Alright, that looks like Yari the Traveler, or whatever his name is, right? Destiny's Call, burst speed, grant an ally in hand, +8/+8 for 8 mana. I don't know about this one. Ooh, I don't know about this one. This is interesting. I wonder if this hits something like a Heimerdinger deck. Is interesting for sure. This is stats. So we can use this card at the earliest. I mean, barring any ramp. On turn 5, we're granting a unit +8/+8. So what's like a 6 cost champion that we could actually put out that would benefit from this? There are a couple of them. Any ideas? So like, there's Nasus out there. Nasus and +8/+8 right before we put him out. We kind of, I guess, surrender sort of the slay mechanic up until that point, but he'll come out as a 10/10 and then automatically be able to level up. So that's kind of an interesting combination right there with Targon. Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of 6 cost champions. A Sejuani. Sejuani might not be too bad. Um, I don't know. Just like pure stats are kind of weird. If we can put it on a unit that can use them, that has overwhelm or elusive, maybe this could be super good. Burst speed, the opponent's not going to be able to stop it, and then yeah, like if there's not any removal for them, then this could actually be really good on an elusive unit. Probably bordering on a meme card, but still kind of interesting. All right. Star-tipped Peak. We're getting another landmark from Targon, a 2 cost. So, Starsprings, they have two cost landmarks now. Countdown 2, so a countdown card from Targon. Create 2 random celestial cards that cost 3 or less in hand. Create 2 random celestial cards. Ooh, this is interesting. Let's see. So when did this go off? This goes off at the beginning of turn 4 if you put it down on turn 2. So this is cool for things like Zoe level ups. We're able to play Star Tipped Peak, which counts as its own card, and then it's going to give you 2 random celestial cards. It doesn't say they have to be different, so I mean there's a chance that you could get the same one. Um, Create 2 random celestial cards that cost 3 or less in hand. So this is very interesting. We get it turn 4. I think that's still early enough in the game that we can make use of the celestial cards, and be able to play them as well. So keep that in mind. This is very interesting. I think this hits some sort of Zoe decks, for a faster Zoe level up, but I'm okay with this. This also introduces a little variability in the way that we can play Talia as well, just granting more landmarks to use as kind of level up conditions for Talia and different regions as well, not just Shurima. All right, so now we go into Bilgewater here. A Bilgewater card called Lost Riches, a burst speed spell, 4 cost, draw a treasure. If there aren't any to draw, create 2 treasures in your deck instead. So this is kind of, so the treasures are what are associated with sea monsters, the shipwreck hoarder, I believe, where you put treasures into your deck. So I actually don't think this is that good of a card. Shipwreck hoarder isn't really used at all. And then I guess if you really want treasures in your deck, you could include a full set of these and then be able to draw treasures. So if you included 3 of these in your deck, right? You're spending 4 mana to put 2 treasures into your deck and then spending another 4 mana to draw 1 of those treasures. Which, I mean, treasures can be pretty good, but they are kind of late game. And I just don't think you're going to be including this in your deck. Could be like, maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe there's a deck that this fits really well in, but you're not going to just be including this as a full set in toss decks, right? Because this is kind of counterintuitive. Either you use the Shipwrecked Hoarders and you need this card and you haven't tossed it yet, or you have this and you use it before you get to deep and add more cards into your deck and make it harder to go deep. So it kind of doesn't make a lot of sense. All right, loaded dice. For the rest of the round, when you damage the enemy nexus, nab 1. For the rest of the round, when you damage the enemy nexus, nab 1. This is this is very interesting. Could we use this with Twisted Fate? In like a perfect deck where you have a ton of like just Nexus damaging spells and abilities, this may be okay. So you could have like this. Okay, so I see this actually fitting in like the Bilgewater Allegiance deck because of the Yordle Grifter. And the Yordle Grifter is going to be producing warning shots basically for free. And the more warning shots you have in hand, the more use you're going to get out of this loaded dice. So I could see this hitting a Yordle Grifter Allegiance deck with TF. And probably this is still a meme card. I don't know how much value you're going to get out of it on average. Pilfered Goods is a 3-cost burst speed spell where if you damage the Nexus and you're going to draw 2. How often are we going to be able to draw more than 2 with loaded dice? Now, it can happen, but I don't see this being super like more useful than Pilfered Goods already is. Like, it's a little bit too memey to hold on to all of your warning shots and then use them all at the same time to nab a card, right? Am I missing on any other potential like synergies here? I guess with Powder Pandemonium, each monkey proc I think counts individually. So I think with like Powder Pandemonium and with Powder Monkeys in general, if they proc individually or with things like the Playful Trickster, or yeah, whatever the 3 costs, you know which one I'm talking about, 3 costs from Shadow Isles, I think all of those count as individual procs, and so they would actually each individually draw a card, which is interesting. So maybe this works in that sort of deck with ephemeral cards, but you still have to play the 4 mana initially and then have cards that can die. So like the earliest we could play that is turn 8, and then how many procs are we getting? Like 3. So I mean, there are ways to kind of play around this. It is still probably a meme card though. All right, let's go on to this Ionian card, Shadow Apprentice, a 1-cost 1/1 elusive. When I'm summoned, grant me +1/+1, and if an ally has ephemeral. So this is just a one-time buff, I believe. When I'm summoned, grant me +1/+1 if an ally has ephemeral. So it's not like for each ally that has ephemeral. I'm pretty sure this is just a one-time buff. If one ally has ephemeral, then it becomes a 2/2, which as an elusive unit is okay. In ephemeral synergized decks, this might be okay. I still don't know. There's not a lot of ephemeral decks running around with Ionia. I mean, they're used, but it's just not super common. That's not the most common ephemeral type deck to have, right? And including this as a 1-drop, this isn't a turn 1 play for the ability, right? So his cost does not reflect on a turn 1 play. You don't get the best value from it on turn 1, which is a little bit of a problem. But when you do get him out, it becomes a 2/2, which is pretty good sustained damage. if you can protect him. But like, I don't know. I don't really see this card being too good. There's not a very good archetype for ephemeral units right now in Ionia. If we had more support for them, then maybe. But I mean, yeah, I just don't think this card is super good. All right. Field Musicians, Ionia, Attune again. Oh, not Attune again. This how many? So we've got the Eye of the Dragon. Is that the only other Attune unit from Ionia? Attune gives you or like an extra mana when you play it. So this is like effectively a 3-cost card. So you play it for 4 mana and then you get a mana in your like reserve mana, right? Not like unit mana. All right. Each round, once you've summoned 3 other allies, refill your spell mana and draw 1. So let's read this again. Each round, once you've summoned 3 other allies, refill your spell mana and draw 1. Interesting. This card is a 1/4. This is a value engine. All right, so this I think is meant to be more ephemeral synergy with something like the Shadow Apprentice, because the easiest way to summon 3 other allies is to summon ephemeral units. So we've got the Haunted Relic, and we have the Riders or whatever, the Hecarim's card with the Spectral Riders, right? And so if we use that 2 mana card, we summon 3 other allies, and then we would refill our spell mana and draw 1. So yeah, I see this being used in ephemeral decks as well. Or I guess you could put it in cheap 1-cost decks. I don't think that's as efficient, just because we can do it all with 2 spell mana with the ephemerals. What else could we use this for? Each round, once you summon 3 other allies, refill your spell mana and draw 1. This has potential Heimerdinger synergy actually with spells. So Heimerdinger could summon turrets, and well, what you have to use spells, and for each spell that you use, a turret with like the same power as the spell cost is created in your hand, and that costs 0. So we have the potential to create a lot of turrets in hand, play them, and then refill our spell mana and draw 1, which is pretty interesting. So I could see some Heimerdinger synergy here with Field Musicians. I see ephemeral synergy. This is an interesting card for sure. This could have Ophelio synergy as well, and the Moon Temple, the landmark, the Ophelios' landmark, where we refill spell mana as well and buff our units. I could see that working potentially with this one in Ionia. Very interesting card. I think this would have a place in a certain deck. It's interesting. I would have to play around with it though. All right, production surge, a 0-cost slow speed spell from Piltover Zahn. To play, spend all your mana. So very similar to Thermogenic Beam. Summon random turrets whose total cost equals the mana spent. And right there, I was talking about Heimerdinger before the Field Musicians, and I didn't even know this existed. So yeah, we have the potential synergy between these 2 cards here as well. So this is interesting. Production Surge. To play, spend all of your mana, summon random turrets whose total cost equals the mana spent. It'll be funny to see how this actually works in game. Like, how often are we going to, summon a T-Hex if we have more than 8 mana? I don't know. I don't know if they are weighted or because it's like a random amount of turrets, right? And random turrets hit too. So I don't know. Very interesting. Seems kind of cool, and it summons them right to your board, not to your hand. This could be kind of like a desperate last, like final play that you could use to fill up your board, but a slow speed level up for Heimerdinger as well. So if you're it's like if you get to late game and haven't leveled up Heimerdinger, and you're on turn 12, you'll automatically level him up, which is kind of funny. And then you'll also summon a turret for the cost that you spent as well for this spell. So kind of interesting there too. Probably a meme card still. I'd say this is still a meme card. A lot of these are kind of looking like meme cards. All right, let's go into this next one from Piltover's on concurrent timelines. Is this kind of an Ezreal card? For the rest of the game, the first time you play a follower each round, pick one of 3 followers with the same cost to transform into. For the rest of the game, the first time you play a follower each round, pick one of 3 followers with the same cost to transform it into. That's interesting. This is a very interesting card. And it doesn't, I don't think you're limited to regions either. So it's going to be so the first time you play a follower each round, pick one of 3 followers with the same cost to transform. So I think this covers all regions. So, and it covers all mana costs as well, which is actually super, super intriguing. Super intriguing. What units would you even include with this? Man, this is actually super hard to evaluate as well. This could be like super good or super bad. I think it's a little bit too random to be super good though. And do we have to turn it into for the rest of the game? This is a 1 cost spell. You could play this on turn 1. Okay, this has to be a meme card. There's no way that so you can play this turn 1. You draw this, you play it turn 1 for the rest of the game. You're drawing or you're creating cards between 3 followers. I just don't see this being super. I think it's just a little bit too random. And how do you build a deck to synergize with random units? It is so intriguing though. Like I'm definitely going to play this. This is like very interesting. Um, I definitely want to build a deck around this, but like, how does this? Is this like Pursuit of Perfection and like the Nyandroid and no, does that count as a created card? Like they count as different cards for sure, right? So this could be like a Pursuit of Perfection, this could be a Zoe deck, this could be a you can include the Submersible. So there is uses for this card in certain decks and certain deck archetypes. So there is a use for this. I just don't know how useful it's going to be and how well you're going to be able to defend yourself with random units. Very interesting card. I'm for sure going to try this out at some point. Maybe early on in a Pursuit of Perfection deck or in a Submersible deck with like a heavy unit. Um, um, I don't know. Man, that's so interesting. I don't know. This is very interesting though. Let me guys know what you think about this card and what kind of decks you want to create with it. This is the most intriguing yet. And it's just because there are a lot of unknowns around it. All right, Crimson Bloodletter. A 1 cost from Noxus. The next time you summon another ally, deal 1 to it and grant me +1/+1. Is this only 1 time? The next time you summon another ally, deal 1 to it and grant me +1. Yeah, I think this is a 1 time thing. So it becomes the next time. So this is guaranteed to proc the next time you. It's just like a weird dog thing. The next time you summon an ally, you're granting it +1/+1 permanently. And then the other unit gets hurt. There's obviously a Crimson unit here, probably Crimson Disciple, but very interesting card. We could use this on like the Crimson Curator for card production. We could use it on the Crimson Disciple for for a little bit of damage to the enemy nexus, which is interesting, and it curves pretty well into those cards as well. So does this help the Crimson archetype? Probably not, but it is a little bit of extra utility, and there isn't really a one mana play in Crimson decks, so this actually offers that for them, which is kind of interesting. I don't know that this is going to help the archetype itself though. All right, strength in numbers. So this is another Noxus card. Summon 2 Legion Marauders. The Legion Marauder here. Attack, grant allied Legion Marauders everywhere +1/+1, a 3 cost card. Doesn't get a lot of play. It seems like it would kind of synergize with Katarina. Katarina is a little bit too awkward and slow to get a whole lot of use out of these cards. And this is an 8 cost card for pulling 2 3 cost units. Yeah, I think this is awful. It's a card that's not going to be used for a card that doesn't get used. I don't like I understand what they're doing because it grants Legion Marauders everywhere. grant or extra stats. So this is a hard card to bounce, and I understand why it's 8 mana, but the cards don't get used. I really doubt that this card's going to get used as well. People will probably play around with it, but I just don't see it being very good. All right. Oh, another spider card. So we get 3 Noxus cards here. All right, spider. I was just thinking like we could use more spider cards. 4 cost. Shrieking Spinner attack. Grant spider allies +1/+0. Okay, this is an interesting card. Oh man, and another spider here from Shadow Isles coming up. This is very interesting. So a 4 cost 2/5. So we're gonna get multiple attacks off with this Shrieking Spinner, and I think 4 mana is kind of on the cusp of actually being useful in a spider deck, just because they're all kind of early game cards with Fearsome. Um, or you want to grant them Fearsome once the least levels up. So is this coming out too slow? I think we're going to have to mess around with this in order to figure that out. But for example, what's the 5 cost? The Arachnoid Host that grants all your spiders +2. Is this any different from that card? Because this is only granting 1 on attacks. It does have a little bit extra health. I think it's a little bit too similar. Arachnoid Host grants it like automatically, right? Okay, I gotta look up all these cards. I'm pretty sure it grants it automatically, right? Grant other spider. Yeah, when I'm summoned, grant other spider allies +2/+0. So I think this is too similar. That one doesn't get used. This comes out a turn earlier, but we give our other allies only +1, and it has to be on attack. So I think this is just a little bit too slow. We are and we're guaranteed basically to give them +2, right? But if we play this on our attack turn, that takes 3 turns to grant our other ally spiders +2. And on top of that, the other spiders do not have a lot of health. So are they going to survive the attack to actually make use of it? Hmm. Now on kind of a positive note on this, you can summon other spider allies, and then every time you attack, those spider allies are going to get extra health as well, or extra attack as well. So is it possible that we can get enough spiders into our deck that we don't attack with Shrieking Spider and just have a constant sort of attack engine for them? Maybe, but we'll see. We'll see. I don't see this being a whole lot better than Arachnoid Host. Maybe I'm wrong about that. All right, another, like I said, spider, 3 cost, Soul Spinner. So again, here we have a relatively cheap spider card, Soul Spinner. When I'm summoned, grant me +1/+1 and Fearsome if an ally died this round. So it becomes a 4/3 with Fearsome. I don't know if this is helping spider decks enough. Is this any better than Frenzied Skitterer that you would be playing on turn 3, and a lot of spider decks are also including Doom Beast for extra reach? That's another 3 cost card. Is this any better than those? Let's evaluate some other cards that we could use with this. So Fearsome, we could just pair with Frenzied Skitterer. And if an ally has to have died this round, though, we could play it on like the back end of the defending turn after an ally has been killed through like a block, and then have a decent open attack with it. This is kind of hard to evaluate as well. I don't think this is as good as Frenzied Skitterer or Doom Beast, if I'm being honest. Spider Synergy may help it a little bit in spider decks, but I don't know. I just don't see it being as good. 4/3 is a little bulkier. I don't know. Yeah, I don't really see this. I think we need a little bit more for spider decks to make it kind of competitive again, and I don't think this is going to help it become competitive. All right, let's go to this other Shadow Isles card, Sea Scarab. Um, Little beetle. When another ally dies or last breath, toss 1. So this is actually a constant engine, isn't it? When another ally dies, the next time you summon another ally. When another ally dies or last breath, toss 1. So I think this is a constant engine, right? This Crimson Bloodletter says, the next time you summon another ally. This does not have a next time. When another ally dies or last breath, toss 1. I think this is a constant engine. This could actually be very good for this could be a very good 2-cost card for deep decks and for Maokai actually. So what's the other 2-cost card? We got the Thorny Toad coming out on turn 2 that tosses 2 and heals. So if we have a deck with decent amount of like kill options, we could actually get to deep or Maokai's level up toss condition pretty fast here. That's an extra card tossed for each ally that has died. I think this is actually pretty strong. I actually think this card is good. I think this is a very good card. If it happens every time an ally dies, this is a constant engine that we have on the board. And it's in Shadow Isles, so it's very controllable. We've got a lot of life still, a lot of heals. We're able to kind of, stall out our opponent to the point where Maokai levels up. I think this is actually a very good card. I think this card is super good. When another ally dies or last breath, toss 1. I like the engine. I like that it's in Shadow Isles. I think this offers a lot for deep decks. I think deep has been lacking a little bit recently as well, and this could actually bring it back into the meta. This allows us as well to run Maokai away from Nautilus and get to kind of his level up. I think he needs 25 cards tossed or killed to level up. I think this is pretty good. All right, Dragon Chow. Dragon Chow from Demacia. When you play a dragon, it strikes me and you draw 1. Oh no. This card's hilarious. Oh no. Oh, it's dragon meat. Look how happy he is. And he's got butterflies. I bet in the full card art there's a dragon in the background. Pull on the heartstrings a little bit. When you play a dragon, it strikes me and you draw 1. Does this count as like a strike for Fury? Probably does. So I think this is this is actually a super interesting card because it gives us kind of a level up condition for Shyvana, very interestingly enough, but it also provides a blocker for early on in the game. I don't know how good this card's going to be. But it's very interesting for sure. Oh man. This is a hilarious card. I don't know that it hits dragon decks. I play a lot of Shyvana, as you guys probably know. This would help to level up Shyvana. We don't want to buff its attack. It strikes me, yeah, okay, it doesn't even attack back. How sad. Alright, this is an interesting card. I don't know how good it is, though. Alright, let's go into this next card. 6-cost card from Demacia. Towering Stonehorn. I don't take damage from enemy spells or skills. I'm sure this could fit in a deck somewhere. This doesn't mean it can't be removed by scale or I don't take damage, so I think that Vengeance is still going to be able to hit this, obliterate spells. It just doesn't take damage. Now, I could be wrong about this. I'm pretty sure that Vengeance still just kills it and doesn't count as damage. But I don't take damage from enemy spells or skills. I don't know how good this is. This is hard to evaluate as well. Could be good, could be bad. It's coming down at 6 mana. It's got no keywords. It's got a pretty powerful ability in a... I mean, it can still be stunned, right? Like everything, every negative sort of buff still affects it, besides being damaged. So, and there's a lot of turn 6 cards from Demacia that are just better than it, I think. Cytheria, the Scout, Elmheart. What else? Genevieve Elmheart. I don't think this is doing enough at turn 6, and this would have to fit in a very particular meta for this even to make sense. A very spell heavy meta that they're damaging you with. I don't see this. I don't see this card being very good. All right, Ancestral Boon, a Freljord card, 2-cost burst speed. Grant the top ally in your deck +2/+2. Enlightened. Instead, grant all allies in your deck +2/+2. Some more mana ramp synergy with this. This is interesting. So how does this work with the new cards like Lysandra, who could be kind of a mana ramp card? Grant the top ally in your deck +2/+2. Enlighten instead, grant all allies in your deck +2/+2. Stats become less meaningful the later on we get into the game. However, we could put this onto some overwhelm units. So how does this work with something like the Starlit Seer, where we're already granting the top ally in our deck +1/+1, right? So we would be granting it +3/+3. Interesting. I see this actually working in something like a Fizz deck. Any of these buff cards with burst speed and Freljord seems like it could work in a Fizz deck. Granting a card +3/+3, if we, that Fizz deck that Swim was working on with the Starlit Seer and Entreat. This could hit a deck similar to that, I think. I don't think the Enlightened ability is super important here. But maybe. Yeah, I see this like in a Fizz deck. All right, going to this last one here. Last card from Freljord, a 3-cost burst speed spell, Spoils of War. Grant an ally +1/+2, another plunder card. Grant 2/+2/+4 instead. So we do get some sort of flexibility here when we include this in the deck, so it doesn't whiff completely. But there is, if you are building a plunder deck, I don't think this is going to get super hard to activate. I think that shared spoils may be just a little bit better because it's also drawing us a card. However, this does allow us the flexibility of putting it on a unit on the board after we've plundered. 4 extra health is quite a bit. Essentially double it. This is hard to evaluate as well. We really haven't seen a ton of plunder decks from Freljord. Outside of Sejuani, a lot of the plunder cards are not run in decks. So I kind of doubt that this one is going to be ran either in that particular deck. People just don't use Freljord plunder that much. So I just don't think this is doing enough to actually warrant, changing it up and actually running a plunder Freljord deck. Yeah, I'll definitely mess around with it because I mess around with all of these cards, but it's like, it seems like a fun card. Most of these cards do seem like fun cards, I'll say that. Very interesting cards. I just don't see them, when I say they're not good, I just mean like in metas, they're not going to be good, right? You can still mess around with them and they're still fun to play with. Things like Dragon Chow and what was the other one? The concurrent timelines. Those are like super interesting cards. Even field musicians, just a lot of them are just not good enough to actually make it into meta decks. Now, Sea Scarab, I think, is actually going to be very good. I think this is probably one of the best cards in this entire reveal here for an actual archetype and helping it perform better. Sea Scarab, probably the best out of all of these cards. Star-tipped Peak, I think, is okay in certain decks, but Sea Scarab is probably the best. All of these cards, like I said, are interesting. I'm going to be trying them all out. Tell me which ones are your favorite. I'm probably going to end here. Rambled enough at the moment. This has taken up quite a bit of time. There's been a lot of cards here. 17, no token cards either, so they redeemed themselves a little bit today. I expect to see some champion tomorrow. And then we'll see what happens after that. Yeah, for Targon's release, they did this type of reveal as the last one right before the expansion. So we'll see what they actually do here. I'm excited. These cards do seem pretty interesting. The art is pretty cool on them as well, especially Dragon Chow. Poor Dragon Chow. Just wants to play with some butterflies. Anyway. Yeah, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and we will see you tomorrow. Thanks.